Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
These words from Thomas Fuller to this nation and all of us. You cannot repent too soon, because you do not know how soon it may be too late. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot. Come on, call in, patriots. Pledge of Allegiance time on a Tuesday. Good morning. Thank you, Kate Smith, and good morning to you. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Great big spring tire sale going on. And don't forget also Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. And without further ado, let's go to our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday morning. Good morning. Good morning. Wheels, where are you over there? I have no idea what's going on, and all of a sudden we lost Wheels and lost connection. Wheels, are you there? Deanne, would you please try to reach Wheels on the phone, please? And so we can get our Pledge of Allegiance on the air, and then followed by our weather, and hopefully he's all right over there at the station. Talk to him just a few. What happened?
My buttons weren't pushing all the way.
Well, make sure the buttons are pushed. Let's go with our Pledge of Allegiance. Hurry, please.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And right now it's time for our weather forecast, brought to you by Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. And right now, here is the weather.
No big surprise. It is spring here in southern Idaho, and that flood watch has been extended through this afternoon. Plus, it's going to be a little bit on the breezy side for today. Winds out of the west, right around 14 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies, high of 53. Tonight, low of 34. Tomorrow, winds dying down just a skosh. Partly cloudy skies, high of 62 with an overnight low of 43. Winds picking up again for Thursday out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Thunderstorms also possible for Thursday. High of 53, overnight low of 35. Still windy for Friday, cloudy, and 56. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Right now, let's tell everybody about the sale that works for you. And that's, of course, the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. The number to call for cattle consignment and sale information, 678-9411. Merv, May, Kay, Draghi, Lance, Udy, all of these folks working at, of course, the sale that works for you. Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Big sale on Thursday at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Don't you miss it. By the way, we had stopped last night and go into Daryl's Cleaners. Hello, Daryl's Cleaners. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Cindy. Hello, everybody. And pick up my clothes that have been sitting there for 2-3 weeks. I just didn't get the time to go in there. And Kevin, of course, if you're listening this morning, you need to come up with all these different one-liners and make a book out of them and send it to me. He is a comedian working right there, enjoying himself at Daryl's Cleaners. I get a kick out of him. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And don't forget, they can restore a lot of the older items, kind of the antique items of clothing that you want to save and preserve for future generations. But dry cleaning at its best. I'll tell you what, they are the best at what they do. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Oh, we have got a busy program this morning, and next hour we're going to be talking to Frosty Woldridge, and then also Emily Vala with the Better Business Bureau, and we're looking forward to that. Got a lot of things to talk to her about, scams and these phony phone calls and everything else, so stay tuned for that. By the way, too, before we go any further, and I start our first little segment on stories this morning, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday for all your heating, electrical, and cooling needs. They're the best. They're the pros. They've done it way over 50 years serving you. And believe me, when you want the best, you work with the best, and you get the best results. There you go, with Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. And one more good word, and that goes out to Denny's Restaurant. I tell you, tomorrow, don't miss between, I think I've got Thomas scheduled to come on the air at about 10:15, right after Jason Lee from Lee's Furniture. Now, what these two young men are going to do, these are very, very smart and hard-working millennials that have just absolutely said nobody owes them anything, and they've gone out and they are working hard to really have a great career and use the talents that God gave them. And both of them are going to be on talking about their millennial generation and how they basically are not going to lay back and say, gimme, I want. They're working for it. And I have a lot of respect for them. Of course, Thomas over at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland Burley, and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls, America's Diner. Oh, my goodness sakes, you got to get in and try those burgers. They are delicious. Bacon, cheese, avocado, double burger. Oh, bring it on. It's delicious. Along with all the breakfasts, the delicious sizzling skillet meals, buttermilk pancake breakfast of all different types. You're going to love it. Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, 611 North Overland in Burley, and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Yes, America's Diner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, this is Cowboy Mike. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Cowboy Mike. How you doing?
Good. I made a little stop over at Necro yesterday, and I ran into my buddy, Ray the Bagby.
Yes.
And he showed me his stagecoach. My God, what a beautiful piece of work.
It's
not completely done yet. It's about 90%.
Yeah.
But your wood haunches has to be within maybe 3/1000ths of an inch. You have to form that. You have to bend it and mold it. And that he's going to try to have it ready by, I believe, May 12th and 13th when we have Bagby Days.
Mm-hmm.
And you mostly, just imagine to do something like that from scratch. Imagine your pickup bender 1 minute gone, the next you have a book how to build a new pickup.
Well,
you have to form the mill yourself. You have to do the plastic, the interior. I mean, it'd take a lifetime.
Well, Cowboy Mike, let me tell you something, Mike. If it were me building anything, yes, you're right. It would take a lifetime because I can't build anything. I do not have the want to build anything, and all I have is absolute respect for Ray Bagby and what he has done, what he can do, and what he is doing, not only with this stagecoach, but with a lot of other projects. And I owe him a huge apology to the fact that I haven't got over there yet. There's always been something come up, and I haven't made it over to see this, but I promise I've got to see it. I've heard it is beautiful.
Yeah, this is like the Mona Lisa of southern Idaho. I mean, it is beautiful. And Bagby Days, I think the Troubadour boys are going to be there. I think this will be March 12th and 13th. And I might even bring the washed up over and play with them boys. So it'll be a good time for everybody, and everybody bring their kids and look at the wagons and all the equipment. And also to build something, you have to have tools that were made 200 years ago to do something like this.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't snap your fingers or clap your hands and do this overnight. Man, you got to be a master boat builder, master carpenter, a master blacksmith, and all these other things to do something like this. But it is truly amazing.
Well, now you mentioned, and I think you misspoke, Mike. You said March 12th and 13th. Didn't you mean May?
May.
Okay, all right.
I believe it would be May 12th and 13th, I believe.
All right, well, Mike, I appreciate your call. God bless you. And I know it's beautiful. I've heard others say that, too, and I got to get over there. Thank you for your call this morning.
Thank you, Bubba.
You bet. Take care. You know, I've had Ray Bagby on my program, and he's been to Lunch Bunch many, many times. He is just such along with the people that also work for him. I mean, they are committed to excellence. And I don't use this term loosely. They are artists at what they do. Beautiful. Barry Equipment and Rental, don't forget, they have all the equipment you need to get the job done right. I had a nice visit with Juan over at the Burley location yesterday, and I just want to tell you that they've got 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, and they've got the Walker mowers. Now, those dudes can cut grass, let me tell you, and they've got a special deal on the Walker mowers. 0% interest for 48 months. Ooh, use what the pros use. And don't forget, too, they got all the Bobcat excavators. That's what I was talking to old Juan about. And they've got all the equipment rentals and retail equipment sales. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. The best. Barry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. I have a story in just a moment that just makes me sick. That our society has become so perverted. Underline that word, perverted. And so completely messed up. There are not enough psychiatrists or psychologists to help this country the way we're going. And I'm going to tell you about that story in just a moment. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, right behind Dr. Crane's office. I'm telling you what, I'm going to give you the number first so you can write it down and absolutely have it right there. Make an appointment so that they can help you get back to being you. The number is 678-1191. I'll say it again, 678-1191. There you go. Springtime, a lot of people outside, and they're raking, and they're taking all the dead branches, and they're getting everything ready for the beautification of the outside, and then all of a sudden, whoop, oh my goodness, I can't hardly move, my back hurts. Well, that's what happens when you do a lot of work after kind of a laid-back winter. We were stuck in the house all winter. Well, anyway, you call them, and they can help with all the exercises and the hydrotherapy pool, etc. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. This story it's so repugnant to me because I'm never going to buy into or accept this lifestyle. And here's what happened. In a first grade school in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system in North Carolina, they were planning on using a book on transgenderism in the first grade. Little 6-year-old kids. And the book is called Jacob's New Dress. I'm telling you, I don't care whose toes I step on. What's right is right and wrong is wrong. Jacob's New Dress, enough good parents complained, and they finally got that book pulled from the school system. And the author and the superintendent have got together and said, oh, it's so sad that this book had to be pulled. The superintendent, Ann Clark, said the book was about a young boy who gains acceptance for wearing a dress. So they pulled this book, and then they slid another book in the school system. And this one's called Red, a Crayon Story. You can't make this stuff up. Red, a Crayon Story. And you know what it's about? It's about a red crayon who thinks of himself as blue. Well, one of the ladies, one of the mothers in that area, her name is Tammy Fitzgerald. She was outraged, and rightly so. She said this book is meant as a tool of indoctrination to normalize transgender behavior. And she said, quote, I think a lot of parents would object to that. We believe the purpose of first grade is to teach writing, reading, and math, and not to teach boys to wear dresses. Well, the authors of this book, Jacob's New Dress, they're crestfallen, so says the story. And they don't understand why society is so cruel. And they said that the backlash against the book proves the point that their book is necessary for teaching acceptance. You know, I'm just going to say this right now, and I've said it before. If some idiocy like this comes into either the Cache County school system or the Minidoka County school system or any school in this area, you are going to get a lot of grief from this program as long as this program's on the air. We have lost our minds, and we've lost right and wrong in this country. And I'm so glad that the people in North Carolina, the good people, finally said, no, enough is enough. You're not going to be putting that garbage and that filth in front of my first grader. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, too, come on now, give me a call. Don't weaken on me. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. It's a busy time for them. Busy time for them right now because they're out there and they're making sure all the sprinklers are working, and they're going to be making sure that if you want a new sprinkler system put in, now is the time to take care of it, let me tell you. And you get a hold of them today. And, you know, I'm hesitating a little bit. There it is. The number 438-2485. The number 438-2485. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. And by the way, it is also time to be thinking about all of your tree trimming and your fruit trees trimmed, all of this and more. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. You call him today. You know, whether you're a mom, a dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, and uncle, whatever, come on, give me a call. What do you think about this garbage that is going through the schools around the United States? It's absolutely insane. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, Rudder Showcase at 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley, they're having their annual March Madness sale. Oh, boy. It's going on at Rudder Showcase. Guy and the crew, they stand by the door and say, come on in. Come on in and you'll find great bargains, appliances, furniture, and Serta mattresses on sale. 12 months, same as cash. Can't beat that deal. And listen, April 1st, Saturday, April 1st, don't you forget to be ready for the annual shootout at Rudder Showcase. $5,000 worth of prizes. And you got to go in and find out more about the shootout and sign up today at Rudder Showcase, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. You get in there today. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yesterday, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, he's a very mild-mannered guy. And he comes across as kind of, what's a good analogy for Jeff Sessions? Kind of remember the old Captain Kangaroo show? Captain Kangaroo, very mild-mannered, but got his point across. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. How do you take over a nation without firing a shot?
Well, I think you don't even have to ask that question. You know the answer. Everybody else does. You take control of people's minds. You take control of people's children. You take control from the churches, and you stop religion. I mean, it's obvious what's happening. You and I can see it. I don't know why the rest of the American public can't.
I know it. It's scary. It's been happening for about 50 years now, or more, that they've been trying to take over the country ever since JFK.
I don't know about you, Doug, but, these stories about forcing families of moral value and forcing families that have religious backgrounds and beliefs into this kind of garbage, Jacob's New Dress. I would take that book and I would set it right on the schoolroom floor and set it on fire and say, now you come after me, I'll burn another one. I am sick and tired of this garbage to our kids.
I am too, Zeb. And it's just like a snowball. When you start it rolling downhill, when it's just a little itty-bitty snowball, nobody pays much attention to it. And that's what's happened about 40 years ago. Nobody was paying much attention to what they were doing. And now the snowball's getting pretty big, and it's starting to roll over people.
Yeah, and I had a call the other day that just really upset me. Another one of those unnamed, unknown numbers, etc. And this man, real gutsy guy, on the telephone, didn't have the nerve to see me in person. He said, "What made you think that you're God on your program with your values and your morals?" And he went on, and I thought, this just proves that there are plenty of sleazeballs alive and well in America.
Yeah, there is. And they're not man enough to stand up on your radio show, call in, and voice their opinion.
Yeah.
Because that's all they have is an opinion. It is an ideology that they're trying to push off on us.
Did you, when you were... I know your mom and dad. Wait a minute, Doug, just hang on just for a second. I knew your mom and dad. And I'll tell you something, they were good, God-fearing Christian people, and they knew right and wrong. They were community-oriented to help others. They would never accept this kind of garbage if you were still in the first grade as a little boy and had that handed to you.
No. No, they wouldn't. God bless my mother and God rest her soul, but she'd have been the first one in there, and she'd have been very polite about it. But that school superintendent, when my mother got done with him, he'd had to go to the doctor to get a few things stitched up. She'd have been doing some chewing.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You just said something that's probably very true about your mom. She would have been polite about it. But Doug, I'm of the reasoning right now that we can be as polite as possible. We can dot all the I's and cross all the T's. But Doug, old buddy, it's not working. And I honestly believe there's going to be a time in the near future where confrontations are going to avail themselves, and being nice and turning the other cheek might not be an alternative.
Yeah. Did you see on the news the other day this guy he's a liberal, and he was talking about the Trump apocalypse?
Oh, my, yes.
And how the liberals are storing food,
oh my,
guns,
yes.
and ammunition.
Yes.
I didn't think liberals liked guns.
Well, I just hope they don't point the wrong end out.
Well, I've seen pictures of the snowflakes, and they're not going to be very, very hard to overtake.
It's not even funny. I'm so sick and tired of lawlessness, and I think I'm right on this, of lawlessness being in the power seat, and those that respect law and the Constitution, we're called bigots and hate mongers.
Exactly. And that's what you get for 8 years. If I was a Democrat, after the last 8 years of what this country's gone through and what's happened, where they've lost over 1,000 seats in state senates and governorships, and they've lost the House, they've lost the Senate, they've lost the presidency. I would be mad because they had 8 years to show that their policies do not work.
I got to do a commercial break here, and then I'm going to go into more of this about what is really the matter with us, where you have, and I said this 2 weeks ago, and boy, did I take heat over it by some. I said that illegal aliens and unvetted refugees have more rights and welfare recipients given to them in various forms than the people here in the United States. All HE double hockey sticks broke loose, and the liberals in the audience, they came after me and they said, "How dare you say that?" Well, it's true, isn't it?
That's a fact. The refugees and the illegal aliens get more benefits than our veterans. And that is wrong.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. They also get the right to sit there and have everything handed to them with different amenities, different social amenities, etc. And the illegal aliens can go to their little sanctuary cities. But you know what they've taken away from us, the taxpayers of this great United States, the citizens of this United States? They've taken away our right to say no.
Exactly, Zeb. And I'll let you go here in just a second, but everybody remember your senior centers. Let's support them. If you can, make a monetary donation monthly. Talk to your senior center, get their bank account. You can go to your bank and have it drawn out every month. I mean, $10 a month, that's a couple lattes.
Yeah.
We can do that to help our seniors.
And there you go.
And businesses, if you can, donate money or do a drive with your customers and everything like I'm doing. I've gotten 4 dairies to donate beef to the senior center.
Wonderful.
So,
all right, Doug. And as far as foregoing the lattes, that's easy for me because I can't stand them. Thank you very much.
I like my coffee black and hot.
There you go, buddy. We won't pursue that any further. Anyway, don't forget our dear friends, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. Oh, having a little trouble hearing. Are you, Bunky? Well, I'll tell you what, it could be related to anything. Maybe diabetes control. It might be something else health-wise. It could be something wrong with your heart, your kidneys. It could be because of your medications. I mean, listen. You'd better get in there and have a hearing screening today. Call for an appointment at 312-0957. 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Hospital emergency room. They are waiting to hear from you. There you go. Also, I want to remind everybody about old buddy Jeff. He's out there. He's out there and his crew's out there. They are the irrigation specialists, I'll tell you. And they are always working for you. Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Jeff and his crew, I mean, they're working hard. And they serve all the farmers in this area, and they're looking forward to a great year this year. And they can furnish all the U-bins and the handline risers and the heliarc welding and the pumps and the manufacturing of wheel line elbows and so much more. They know irrigation. They know agriculture. Call the experts at Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley, 678-3101 or 431-3101. There, I messed up his number. I'll say it again, 431-3101. There you go. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm not out on this program to make friends and everybody pat me on the back and go, "Oh, good boy. Atta boy, buddy." No, I'm out here to tell the truth. And I'm not going to hedge on these subjects. Why are we allowing, and we are, our country to be overtaken? And if you can't see this, please go to an optometrist. Our country is being overtaken by illegal aliens, unvetted refugees, liberal left thought, no borders. If there is a law, just step over the law. Don't abide by the law. Cheat on the law. All of this, and we're sitting back not doing a thing about it. We're sitting back and not doing a thing about it. And little by little, We are being covered like a blanket by the left. And that means a world control order. I'll use those words, world control order, that is going to take over America. And I guarantee you a lot of you are laughing at me right now. But you're going to be crying later. I'll give you a couple examples on this. The low class of the left, I mean the extremely low class of the left, and Democrats, not Democrats, Democrats. Chuck Schumer goes into a very high, swanky New York restaurant. Oh, yeah. One of those that you'd better have a credit card that is pretty high in its value. Well, he's seated at a table right across from a lady and her husband that are sitting there, along with another couple, and they're talking politics. And this one lady, and you know how it is in a restaurant, you can absolutely overhear other conversations. You can try to pretend you don't hear, but you do. Oh, my goodness, Deanna and I have heard a lot of conversations at various restaurants. You can't shield it. It's not going to stay within the confines of your table. This lady was talking about President Donald Trump and how she supported Donald Trump and certainly wished him well in his presidency. Well, Chucky Schumer jumped out of his chair and went off the rails about her and her support of Donald Trump. You know, I'm beginning to think that the Democrats, or Democrats, have the personality of an armpit. They just absolutely, they say they're tolerant, but they're totally intolerant of anyone else with a differing opinion. Caller, stand by. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody the Great Big Women's Seminar is coming up on April 13th. That's right. Southern Idaho Women's Expo. And it's sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance at the Burley Best Western Inn on April 13th. And tickets in advance are $20, $30 at the door. And if you want to be a vendor and have a booth space, you better call the chamber office, 679-4793 today. Southern Idaho Women's Expo on April 13th. Don't you miss it. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Sir.
You know, you're talking about these liberals, how they try to change things, try to fix things that aren't broke. Down there in Nevada, in the Nevada Senate, there is one of their members that is trying to change the name of the airport. That's called McCarran's Airport because it was a Republican senator way back in the 20s.
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
I guess he did a lot for Nevada. I didn't know him or anything. But the thing of it is they want to change the name.
Under what pretense, Keith? Under what pretense do they want to change the name? Was all of a sudden the name is, oh my goodness, you can't say that? I mean, what pretense? What reason?
Well, that was the thing of the past. One thing, McCarran was a Republican from what I understand. And the other thing is they want to be pat on the back for doing something for Nevada.
Oh, brother.
And instead of that, they're destroying it.
You know, name changes are absolutely asinine and stupid as far as I'm concerned. McCarran International Airport, I have flown in there probably no less than 200 times. I know the airport like the back of my hand. And why in the world does some absolute nitwit want to change the name? There's got to be some underlying reason I don't understand.
Well, I listened down in Las Vegas. I listened to a talk show host. Her name is Heidi Harris.
I know her.
And she was on 840. And she talked about these things. And, you know, she made a lot of sense. And she is not liberal. And that's hard to find in Las Vegas.
True story.
Yeah. But it's just a shame that you got to change something.
No.
Somebody called in and said, well, why don't they just, if they got to change the name, change it to the Las Vegas International? No, we don't want to do that. We want to see Harry has his name everywhere.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to name changes and location name changes, I'm sick of this stuff. I'm sick of political correctness. I don't want to see the Cleveland Indians become the Cleveland Dishwashers. I don't want to see the Atlanta Braves become the Atlanta Seagull Chasers. I mean, I don't care about political correctness. They're not hurting anybody. They're not offending anybody. The only offense is that the left wants to make money and go to court and have somebody sued over it. It's so stupid and asinine.
Yeah, just like one of the schools we have here in Burley's called Dvorak. Well, he was a senator from Idaho, and from what I understand, he did a lot for us.
Yeah.
And I would hate to see them change his name. But you see, the guard has changed in Las Vegas to the liberals. And so all these good, solid conservatives have passed on.
Yeah.
And now it's the day of the liberals.
All right, Keith. Well, listen, I just hope this kind of lunacy doesn't prevail. Thank you so much. Good to have you back, buddy. Thanks.
You bet.
All right, take care. Right now, I'll take some more calls, but I also want to remind you about some really nice people, and I had them on my program about 2 weeks ago, Amy and the crew over there at the Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. Why is the number important for you? Because they want you to come by and visit the facility, take tours, check them out, ask questions, and they make every effort to make Autumn Haven absolutely the best place to live. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. And it's the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. And come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You're not going to believe what a professor is doing at Iowa State University. We got to talk about that in just a minute. But right now, it is time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, 382 North Overland, Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. I'm telling you that, you got a little cut there, huh, Bunky? Or maybe you fell off the ladder, your leg's kind of looking like it's walking the wrong way when you're going the other way. But anyway, all of these little things that really are concerning and hurt, minor emergencies, major care. And they've got an in-house lab, an x-ray, and they're open 7 days a week. Stop in to the Urgent Cares. Minor emergency, major care. Here's Gina with the weather.
No big surprise. It is spring here in southern Idaho, and that flood watch has been extended through this afternoon. Plus, it's going to be a little bit on the breezy side for today. Winds out of the west, right around 14 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies, high of 53. Tonight, low of 34. Tomorrow, winds dying down just a skosh. Partly cloudy skies, high of 62 with an overnight low of 43. Winds picking up again for Thursday out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Thunderstorms also possible for Thursday. High of 53, overnight low of 35. Still windy for Friday, cloudy, and 56. That is your weather for Zeb at the Range.
And brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care at 382 North Overland in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin, and, of course, Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here's what I would love to be in this class. I really would love to be in this class. Professor at Iowa State University tells his class to write a paper from the perspective of the 9/11 terrorist killers. He wants them to write a paper, a sympathetic paper, to the terrorists and create sympathy for the Muslim terrorists and why they attacked us. Sympathy for the Muslim terrorists? You got to be kidding me. Here we go, one little encroachment at a time. Oh, let's not yell about... did I tell you the other day about now there's a company that wants to put hijabs, the head covering, on Barbie dolls? I'm not kidding you. This is all true stuff, and we're just sitting back watching our society being eroded by a culture of hate, fear, and death. Yeah, Barbie dolls. Well, now this Iowa State University is telling the class, write a paper from the perspective of the 911 terrorists and show some sympathy as to why they attacked us here in the United States, why they killed over 3,000 people. Bleeding heart liberal professor, I would give anything to be in his class and denounce him and his stupidity. But they being the left, for some reason, we're allowing them, like athlete's foot, to itch and fester. And I don't know why. I get up and I don't know why we put up with this garbage. Really. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The 45th annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale is going to be going on April 5th through the 8th up in Salmon, Idaho at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds. And tomorrow we're going to have my old buddy Fred Snook on the air talking about it. And it's going to be Wednesday through Saturday, the 5th through the 8th. And they're going to have that great big Idaho State Championship wolf hauling contest, great big Salmon Select Mule Sale on Friday the 7th, and great big horse sale up there at 1 p.m., the horse sale on Saturday, my goodness, and all the other activities of the 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale in Salmon at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds. Don't you miss it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. It's really interesting. The campuses today, even the so-called conservative areas, because of the tenure situation, conservatives don't get tenure. They just get forced out. And this has been going on for a long time. And so this kind of nonsense that you see with this professor, this is typical. And there was a study done at Idaho University, actually, where there was a pretest about our country, and the students basically, put down that, all these pro-socialist answers. And the professor then gave his lectures for a few weeks, took a secondary test, and the kids didn't realize how they had been brainwashed in high school to accept the fact that this country was not a republic, a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
They figured that we're something less. There was a recent survey at another university, and very conservative, and the students there were, by a large majority, going to vote for Bernie Sanders, a vowed socialist, for president. And so this is going on. And so what you're saying is absolutely not unusual for students to be indoctrinated or be subjected to this kind of propaganda, and so they can think how the terrorists. Well, I can carry the thinking of the terrorists is if they follow the Quran they're commanded to kill us, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, but the whole thing boils. Wait a minute, Adrian. Let me jump in and have a little part of the conversation with you. Number one, it's prevalent in almost all schools now. The bigger colleges, the bigger universities, to where it's a hate America crowd, hate all the assets and benefits that America can provide, hate the Constitution. We're all racist. We're all bigots. We're all white people are bad. Shame on white people. And I'm sick of this, and it's about time we fought back.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad the state legislature did the right thing and took out the climate change out of the curriculum. And I see President Trump today signing an executive order rescinding all of these ridiculous restrictions on energy production in this country to get the coal miners back to work. And, without energy and so forth, without having abundant, inexpensive energy, you can't move an economy forward if you have to depend on wind and solar when the wind doesn't blow all the time and the sun certainly doesn't shine all the time. It's so ludicrous what we have been subjected to for the last 8 years. It's certainly a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I agree.
To see what's going on. But, it is an imperative that parents understand, get hold of your textbooks. My grandkids, I look at their textbooks, and it's all about organic evolution. It's all about democracy, put down this country. It's just incredible what they're subjected to. And so it's, you teach a lie long enough and often enough, just like the climate change thing, $360 billion.
I got to run. Adrian, I can't keep, I got to go. I got to run. I got a commercial break, and I appreciate your call every day, but we got to cut it a little shorter right now because I got a break, and I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anyway, folks, be careful about sending your kids to college and check out what they're teaching at our local schools.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you. It's really true about the indoctrination of what we grew up as a country, not just us, as a generation, but what we grew up knowing through our great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, and now us. All that was right is now being turned upside down and called wrong. Just like what the Bible says, folks. In the end times, what is right will become wrong and vice versa. And I, for one, I'm not going to stand by and just idly sit there and go, ho-hum, twiddle my thumbs, let's sit out in an easy chair and watch the sun come up and the sun go down. I can't do that. And as long as I'm drawing some air, I'm going to keep telling the truth on this program. Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, heat pump, whatever. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them today at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money. And you be sure and call them today. I've got time for another call. Give me a jingle before the news. And I want to take some time here quickly while I'm waiting for your call to let everybody know about the great big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Doing the right thing matters. Absolutely. They've got many of their tires on sale right now, and these are tires that you are needing for your safe driving, for your car, your pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever. And I know that you've made a lot of plans for the spring and the summer to get out of here and go see Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred, Disneyland, whatever. Well, you stop in and enjoy the great big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert. Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. And boy, what service they do provide. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
These young people today that are being programmed by these teachers in these schools, what's going to happen is at some point, these people are going to find out that the enemies of America at some point are going to be their masters.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to like living under that kind of a situation. And it's going to be too late to turn around.
Well, you and I are getting a little long in the tooth and the earlobe and gray on the top of our heads. And these young whippersnappers and the younger generation, they just kind of scoff at us and laugh at us. But I'll tell you what, the day's coming, Tony, when we are going to be proven absolutely correct.
Yes, sir. And we know what's coming down the pipe. Unfortunately, they are going to learn the hard way.
Amen. The world is going to learn the hard way. My dear friend, God bless you and Mary. Thank you for your call. I got to run to the news.
Thank you,
sir. I have got some great people scheduled for the rest of this morning. Don't miss a minute of it. And right now, we are going to get ready to go to CBS News. Next hour, Frosty Woldridge, and we got some big topics to cover. And then at 9:30, Emily Bala with the Better Business Bureau, talking about all the different scams and illegal people that are trying to get your money out of your billfold. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch, we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Have a good day. Oh, here we go. Looks like a pretty day outside. Good morning, Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they're having a big spring tire sale right now. Don't forget to stop in, all 7 locations. And, of course, great advertisers like our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Potties for your party. I know a lot of people don't want to discuss that, but we will. Absolutely. Porta potties for your party. If you're planning an event this year, you absolutely have to look at the basics of the needs of life. And that means if you're having a great big wedding or a class or family reunion or a special birthday party or outdoor concerts, you're going to have a lot of people, Bunky, and you better make sure that you plan on them potties for your party. Call Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969, Western Waste Services. And while we have just a few moments, I also want to remind you about, Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, the whole crew. I mean, they're nice people. Dr. Bill Fulcher and Dr. Liz Schrepfer and the entire staff over at Ark Animal Hospital. 750 21st Street in Heyburn. And the number to call, number to remember, 678-1177. 1177. And they have the warm hearts for cold noses. You know, they really care about your animals, your livestock, your dogs, kitty cats, steers, horses, goats, whatever it might be. And I'm telling you, it's a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They do love them all. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn, 678-1177. Hey, don't forget that great big Southern Idaho Women's Expo coming up April 13th at the Best Western Burley Inn, sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. And tickets at the door are $20. Oops, wrong. Tickets in advance. Boy, I got a lot of people sweating bullets there. Tickets in advance, $20. At the door, $30. And they want you to get those tickets right now. And if you're a business that would like to have a booth space there, call 679-4793. That's the Southern Idaho Women's Expo, April 13th. Don't you miss it. A good friend of mine. I'm going to get right to it because we got a lot of ground to cover. Frosty Woldridge, good morning. Golden, Colorado, how are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Always look forward to Tuesdays and our discussion. I would really invite everyone listening across the country this morning to go to newswithviews.com. And my latest piece is called "We Can't Restore Our Civilization with Somebody Else's Babies." And, of course, those of you who have listened to the Iowa U.S. House member Steve King, he said culture and demographics are our destiny, and we cannot restore our civilization with somebody else's babies. And in this piece, I really bring it to the forefront that within 25 years, the European Americans who really created America, created the Constitution, and built this country at 90% back in 1965, along with the 7% of African Americans and 3% of Spanish or Latino Americans, built this country. Well, by 2042, that's 25 years from now, the European Americans at the current immigration rates will become the new minority. We will become the new minority, and the Mexican, Latino, Hispanic contingent will be the new majority at 51%. And I think everyone that wants to have an understanding of what immigration is doing to us, it's simply displacing the dominant culture, the dominant ethnic group, which are European Americans, and we're being supplanted because we're allowing mass immigration. And it's a very sobering column, so I hope everybody gets to read it.
You know, Frosty, we've been friends for a long, long time. You've stayed here at my home on a couple of occasions, and our friendship is one of respect and knowledge. And over the years, reading your books and all the different writings, and you and I sharing various things on the telephone, I'm to the point now this morning that I am absolutely disgusted with what's going on in our country with the Demobrats and the left, and the way that they are trying to make us that have a value system in America. We honor our Constitution. We try to honor the laws and have respect for this great country. The other day in USA Today, there was a great big full page and a half story about these poor illegal aliens and how they're not being able to realize the American dream and stay here in this country because ICE is coming by and deporting them, many of which have been drunk drivers arrests, they've had murder arrests, etc., and they've had these pictures in the paper of the wives and the children crying because their husbands being deported. I am sick and tired of this campaign to where we're in the wrong when the illegals are always in the right.
That's the fascinating and ironic aspect of the mainstream media, and that's why the mainstream media has degraded down to pretty much the fake news vernacular, and the American people are really listening to you and me because we are the American people. You know, one of the things that I've said, and I'll say it again, I know more about what's happening in America because I've worked as a truck driver and as a teacher and a bartender and a heavy equipment and literally a short order cook and a dishwasher and a pool cleaner and guys like George Will or Kathleen Parker up there in New York, they don't know their butts from a hole in the ground. They don't know what's going on in America, and so they've really been bypassed. And same thing with somebody like Jake Tapper and Jonathan Carl and all of these characters. They're being left in the dust. And so when they put these powder puff pieces on, they don't realize that 2 illegal aliens in Maryland just a week ago raped a 14-year-old girl in the girl's bathroom. That's what's going on. And, you know, there's many websites out there. One's called The Dark Side of Illegal Immigration by Peter Wagner. I mean, crime after crime, crime after crime. It just goes on and on and on. Rapes, burglaries, shoplifting teams that are shoplifting $25 million a day being shoplifted out of our stores across this country. This is all happening with illegal aliens, but they never report this. And then they report the powder puff pieces that were breaking families apart. Well, the reality is those illegal aliens in our country, their wives and their children, can go reunite with their fathers and or whomever, mothers, back in Mexico or back in their own countries and help make their own countries, fix their own countries. We're working on our country. They can work on their own country. And that's why, like I say, the mainstream media is just losing credibility at a horrific rate of speed because of this bunch of baloney they feed the American public.
You know, and I'm going to come right out and say this, and if I step on toes, so be it. I'm going to be at least honest on my program. I am sick and tired of various people, various associations, various politicians saying to the legal public, and I'm talking about our officers and ICE and others, turn a deaf ear and a blind eye on these circumstances because it might affect our industry, it might affect our agricultural workers, etc. I'm sick and tired of this attitude of bend the law and reshape it for those and keep it stern for the rest of us. I don't think that's America that I grew up in, Frosty.
Well, it isn't, and I would really, again, bring it to your attention that there is about 340 sanctuary cities in this country right now that are really going to feel the full brunt of the Trump presidency, in that he's going to start going after them as far as funding if they don't fall in line and agree to be part of ICE and be a part of the 287G enforcement, using police officers as immigration officers, and that they need to turn over these illegal aliens, because all of these mayors who've created these sanctuary cities along with the city councils, whether it's New York City or whether it's Detroit or whether it's Chicago or whether it's Los Angeles or Atlanta or Denver or Boulder, Colorado, they need to go to jail because they're in violation of our laws. And either we stand as a nation of the rule of law, or we turn into a third world country where bribery is the mechanism by which people operate. So it is frustrating. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think Donald Trump is going to persevere here. He's going to start really cutting into the funding, and Chicago will turn into a mass mayhem without federal funding. So things are going to happen, maybe a little bit slow, but I'm going to count on the tenacity of Donald Trump to uphold the law, and boy, oh boy, Jeff Sessions, as the Attorney General, is going to be in there just with so much power to do it. So we've got a chance to return this country to the rule of law.
Yeah, we've got a call, but I want to just have you give me a real short comment on this. One of the quotes in this story in USA Today was about this mother saying, "Oh, my son and I, our whole world is missing now with my husband gone. Trump has destroyed the lives of many people in my situation." Wait a minute. They broke the law, Frosty.
They broke the law, and that is, I don't care if you're a bank robber that gets away with breaking the law because you didn't get caught for 20 years. You still robbed the bank. You're still susceptible to arrest. You may have a family, and this has happened. The bank robber had a family, had kids, the whole thing, and I guarantee you, once he gets caught, he goes to the trial, he gets convicted, and he goes to jail. And you better deal with it. Once you break the law, you better deal with it, and your family has to deal with it, and it was your choice. It's now your consequence.
Amen. We've got a caller with a question. Quickly, caller, you're on the air. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, Zeb and Frosty. Do you have any information on New England giving voter registration forms to these people that have just poured into our country?
I'll have Frosty talk about that on the air, Tony. Thank you very much. Frosty, go ahead and respond if you would.
Yeah, Tony, thanks for that question. It takes 7 years, essentially, to become a citizen of the United States. And so what you're seeing in these highly liberal states in New England, like Massachusetts and Connecticut, all these foo-foo liberals who are literally being called snowflakes because they can't stand up under the heat of reality, they melt away, but they continue their charade. And there's all sorts of bending of the law in these arenas to gain votes for the Democratic Party, which is fast becoming the non-party of non-Americans. And the only thing I can say is that we have to stand up and shine the light on it so we can stop it. And men like Jeff Sessions are the ones to stop it, because it's illegal to have citizenship from somebody who can't even speak the English language, hasn't passed any citizenship tests, and right on down the line.
You know, Frosty, talking about Jeff Sessions yesterday, he got on national cameras and all the news media of those that would carry the story and absolutely denounced sanctuary cities as it should be. And he said that the Department of Justice will take all lawful steps to claw back, those are the words, claw back funds from sanctuary cities. And I sat there last night and watched the news on three various stations, 2 liberal and 1 not liberal. And the newscasts were like, oh, how can they do this to these poor people? Why is it that we, the taxpayers of the United States, are being shuffled off into a dark abyss, and we're being told that we're bigots and hate mongers, and all these others, whether they're refugees coming in or whether they're illegal aliens, my goodness, they're given the key to the city.
You know, I got to say that CBS and Scott Pelley pathetic. Certainly, David Muir at ABC is pathetic. Terry Gross, right there at NPR, is so far off the mark because she does nothing but sympathizing on illegal immigrants. CNN, pathetic beyond belief. Guys like Jake Tapper, you sit there and you just want to intellectually vomit when you hear the kind of garbage that comes out of them. And then they pretend to be journalists. Edward R. Murrow would turn over in his grave if he heard Jake Tapper or any of these CNN people, because they're not reporting the facts.
That's right.
They're not reporting what's really going on. And we, the American people, we've got to dig to find out what's actually going on. And that's why you're getting more and more citizen journalists. I mean, Kimberly Dvorak down there in Los Angeles, she puts out the reality. And a lot of my colleagues at News with Views are putting out the reality. The same thing with the American Free Press. I would ask anyone to go to the American Free Press. That is one of the top .com top arenas for getting the real facts of what's going on in this country. And the key is the corporate elite that want to control all the news. They want to control all of what you receive, and that controls the conversation. Well, that has stopped now, and we've got to start really depending more on the Internet and more on citizen activist journalists like yours truly and Kimberly and right on down the line, because otherwise we're being fed a bunch of baloney by the mainstream press.
I agree. We've got a caller with a question. Go ahead quickly. You're on the air.
Well, you know, for the last 100 years, and I'd like Frosty to comment about this, but this country's been under attack to create a global government, and one of the things that stood in the way was the fact that our free enterprise constitutional republic was so prosperous that we couldn't, merge into this global utopia of the United Nations or whatever. So they had the League of Nations, and then, of course, we got the United Nations, which has been un-American and pro-communist ever since. But it's to create a third world country out of us, and that's been the agenda. And you realize David Rockefeller just died at the age of 101. There was hardly any coverage about his death. It was really interesting. But one quote from his book says, he said, "We've been accused of being globalist and wanting a one-world government." He said, "If that's the charge, I stand guilty and proud of it."
All right, I'll have Frosty comment on that a little bit, if you would, please. Frosty, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Yeah, and the caller's exactly right. The globalists, like David Rockefeller, wanted maximum control. Well, they certainly were getting their way with the Barack Obama aspect, and now that guy and that dude is gone. And now you've got this very disruptive non-globalist in a Donald Trump. But the American people are waking up to this thing, and I don't know how much longer it's going to take. You all know, and you've seen a lot of my work on Facebook, and I get into all sorts of tangles with people. But the key is we are recalcitrant to the phoniness of the UN. I personally think we ought to just pull out of the UN.
Absolutely.
We're funding it, we're housing it, and it's always working against us. The UN and all the Security Council, they vote against us all the time. And all of these people that are making money, like Egypt, and you go on down the line of all the foreign aid, they always vote against us. I mean, they're supposed to be our friends. We're upholding them, and yet they vote against us in the UN. And so the key here is that we, the American people, again, the biggest issue of our time is to stop all immigration into the United States. We cannot and we will not survive another 100 million immigrants into this country in the next 30 years. And for me, that is the ticket. Everyone has got to jump on that. Oh, and numbersusa.org and capsweb.org, they're up to 8 million Americans now. So numbersusa.org with Roy Beck and that video that's going viral across the world shows you the futility of mass immigration and how it's so destructive. And that's the key here is we've got to stop mass immigration or we will become a third world country. If you look at Chicago, Chicago is an example of a third world country.
Let me just quickly shift gears. One final story. I got about 3 minutes left here, Frosty. So I want you to talk a little bit about Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. The man has jumped through the hoops. The man has passed everything with flying colors. And now the Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer and others, they're going to start a hate campaign. And they're going to absolutely do all they can, whether it's filibusters or whatever, to stop this man from being on the Supreme Court. This is nothing more than the left liberal nuts' hatred for the Trump administration and, quite frankly, for the rest of us in America.
Well, Chuck Schumer is so anti-American and so pro-illegal everything, the man should be impeached himself for treason. I mean, Chuck Schumer really has done a lot of dirty stuff over his tenure, and he's the perfect example for term limits. And the fact is, Gorsuch is absolutely impeccable, and I suspect when all this dust settles, Gorsuch is going to be on the Supreme Court because you cannot find anything about him that isn't absolutely superlative. He is a superlative man, and he's going to be a great Supreme Court judge, and all of this dancing around with Chuck Schumer and the rest of Nancy Pelosi and all these snowflakes, they're going to do it in vain because Gorsuch is going to be the new Supreme Court.
And you take the likes of Maxine Waters from California, and she got on the floor of the House yesterday and basically said that conservatives and people that support President Trump were not patriots to this country, and that she and her ilk were the only real patriots. What a disgusting human being.
Well, I've said this on Facebook, and I'll stand by it. Maxine Waters has an IQ somewhere between a dandelion and an earthworm. Now, take that in. I mean, that woman, I don't know if she could pass an 8th grade, math test. I don't think she could pass a history test in the 8th grade. I don't know where her education came from. I don't know what kind of intellectual horsepower she has. But every time she opens up her mouth, I mean, she's dumber than dirt. And the only reason she's in the House of Representatives is a mystery, other than the fact that she comes from her minority community and they keep voting her in. But man, I can say she's just dumber than dirt. Anything she says has nothing to do with reality, and that's the only thing I can say about Maxine Waters.
I've got to say I'm going to remember that, and when I have a liberal call my program, I'm going to welcome them into the fold of dandelions and earthworms. Thank you very much. Frosty, God bless you, man. Talk to you next week. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, earthworms and dandelions. Go Maxine Waters.
There you go. God bless you. See you next Tuesday. Thanks. Oh, my goodness. I really enjoy having him on the program. Frosty Woldridge from Golden, Colorado. My friend. Don't forget Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. And I saw Joel last night and had a chance to visit with him, and what a kind man, what a caring man, and his family. And they really care for you and your family. When there's the passing of a loved one, and you really, like I've said many times on this program, you don't know what has to be done in a short period of time, just relax for a moment, take a big breath of fresh air, and call their number, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. They always, at Hanson Mortuary, uphold the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity in serving you and your family. Call them today. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. By the way, there is a great big open house, spring open house going on at Mad River Laser over in Rupert at 502 East Street, and we had a lovely lady on the phone yesterday representing Mad River Laser and talking all about the entire gift shop over there at Mad River Laser on sale. Oh, my. You'd better get in there because it's this week. And, oh, my goodness, you can save a lot of money, and you're just going to enjoy all the items in their store. Mad River Laser, they've done a lot of work for us. They are exceptionally talented. And ask them about free engraving and free embroidery, and they're going to have door prizes at their spring open house. Get in there today. Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert, with a big spring open house sale. Nice people. And I'll tell you, so talented. And they can take ideas, and this isn't part of their ad, but they can take ideas and just whatever you're thinking in your head, they can get on the shirts and the jackets and the caps and everything. They are good. Excuse me, coming up in just a moment, we're going to have a segment with the Better Business Bureau, so stand by for that. Lovely lady will be on the phone with me. Emily, I hope I say her name right, Vala will be there in just a moment. I want to remind you, too, about Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the entire world. Oh, baby, it's that time of the year. Everybody's thinking, got to get out of here, got to get out of here, got to get up in the hills. Well, if you've got an ATV already and you need to get it serviced, you better get it over there right now at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 in Rupert. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. If you're looking for a brand new ATV or a side-by-side or a dirt bike, well, look no further. They've got them all. And along with all the accessories, what a place for you where the fun is sold. Yep, Let's Ride in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. And another great business over there for your protection is Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I'm talking about life insurance. I'm talking about health insurance. I'm talking about retirement planning, employee benefits, and so much more. They are dedicated and very responsive to your needs. So all you have to do is call the number. Make an appointment, Bunky, at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. The pros. They really care. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Well, right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and we say good morning to a lovely lady, and I'm going to say her name, and if she feels free to correct me, I don't want to mispronounce it. Emily Vala. Is that correct with the Better Business Bureau? Is she there, Wheels?
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, Emily. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, and I just said, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Is it Emily Vala?
It's Vala. Very close, though. Kind of like velocity.
Oh, Vala. I like that. What nationality is that?
Oh, well, we claim French, but something European.
Oh, okay. Vala. Okay. Well, Emily, why is there... I got to hand it to the bad guys in one respect. They just absolutely must sit in a darkened room someplace and come up with all kinds of new twists on how to be illegal and how to scam us, the general public. And that's what I wanted you to come on this morning and talk about. It just seems like there is no limit to the scams and illegalities that these bad guys and women will do.
You are absolutely correct. They are always looking for new ways to steal our money and our information. It's not just our money. Things like our social security numbers, our dates of birth, all of that is valuable to these thieves.
You know, Emily, in this society today, where we're told that basically Big Brother, government, and the bad guys, they know everything about us. They know everything about our education. They know all about our health. They all know all about our medications. What can we do to protect some semblance of privacy?
Well, things to do to protect your information. Oftentimes, scammers are looking at your social media or your online profile, and that's how they know this information about you when they call you. So make sure you have your privacy settings set to the highest degree, that you have all that information protected. When you're browsing online, when you're on your phone, when those system updates become available, oftentimes they have privacy fixes in there. So download those, and that'll help protect that information, and that's a small step to get started.
Okay, but wouldn't you agree with me, though, Emily, that technology to a major degree has hurt the American public as far as trying to keep some semblance of privacy?
There's always ways that our information can be compromised. Oftentimes people say, oh, well, I don't want to bank online because, my information could be compromised. Well, at the same time, if you're receiving that bank statement to a mailbox on your street that doesn't have a lock on it, that information is not necessarily secure either. So there's risk everywhere we go, and it's a matter of taking those steps to protect ourselves and to monitor those accounts so we know what's going on.
Emily, just last week on Friday, I was sitting in my office and I had a phone call, and the individual said, well, sir, give me your Social Security number. And I said, wait a minute. I do not give that over the phone. And they went into this, well, we have to have it or we can't process these papers, and on and on. What about it? Do I have the right to say not only no, but heck no, I'm not going to give you that number?
It's very important to protect that information. And so on those phone calls, if you get a phone call from someone who reaches out to you and requests that you verify information or provide that, absolutely hang up. Do not give that information out to a cold call, anyone who initiates that call to you. In other circumstances, you may be calling your insurance company, your credit card company, and if you're initiating that call, take the time to verify you have the number correct. You're calling the number on the back of your card, the number on your bill, whatever it may be. And then in that case, it's safer to verify that information. But if someone calls you and asks for that information, absolutely not. I hang up, and I will always take the steps to verify, but they don't get that information on a cold call.
Emily, what are, and I said are, I'm sure there's more than one, but what are the real worries for you and the Better Business Bureau right now? What are the major scams that you want to alert the public about this morning?
Oh, my goodness. There are always a number of scams going around. One thing to watch for as we go into the spring is things like home improvement scams. We all have a lot of work to do after a pretty tough winter on southern Idaho. So be careful in terms of hiring people to work on your house. And these aren't necessarily scams, but the due diligence you want to do in hiring a business, that you do your research, watch for red flags, make sure you're working with someone you want to be working with.
I remember a couple of years ago, one of the scams, and it happened 5 times in 2 months, 2 years ago, 2015. I had a call, and they always either took place early in the morning or probably about 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. And the guy said, hello, I'm so-and-so with this chemical company, and your order is in for what you needed for the spring, and all we need is your credit card number, and we'll deliver the order in the next 5 days. I didn't order any chemicals, and I certainly had never heard of this company, but a lot of people evidently fell for that scam and gave the guy the number.
Oh, my goodness. So just what you said there, where you said you knew you didn't pay for or you didn't order these chemicals, keep track of any sort of transactions you do. If you're working as a business or maybe a family business, don't assume if you get a call like that it's someone else has authorized that transaction. Always take the time to verify. Anytime you're uncertain, ask for contact information, hang up, verify independently with whoever else you may need to, your business colleagues, family members, and then you can choose what course of action to take, because just like that, you may be paying for something that you never intended to.
One of the scams that just infuriates me, and I'd like you to elaborate on it a little bit, Emily, is I call it the Granny and Grampy scam, where they'll call up and they'll say, Grandma, I'm in jail, or Grandma, I had an accident, or Grandpa, I need money in a hurry. And it's many people that are elderly, they fall for this thing. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing this up, especially with spring break right now and summer travel around the corner. We'll see this pop up more. I had a woman from eastern Idaho call me a few weeks ago who lost $8,000 to this.
Oh, my.
And what happened was she got a call from her grandson saying that he had been in some sort of incident with a friend. They were pulled over, something happened, and the friend supposedly had illegal substances, drugs of some kind, and they were going to arrest the grandson as well, and they were willing to cut him a deal, basically, if he could post bail right away. So supposedly this grandson calls Grandma and asks for $8,000. And Grandma, wanting to, help the grandson, he's in distress, and he says, please don't tell Mom and Dad, they won't cut me this deal if we tell anyone about it. So she went to the store, and she actually withdrew cash and sent that cash in a magazine overnight to these scammers. And, of course, cash is untraceable, and so she lost that money, and the next day the calls came in for even more money. And that's how this gets started.
And I don't want to sound holier than thou to anybody, Emily, and I know you don't either, but why are seniors so gullible? I mean, they've lived a good life and they've worked hard for their money, but certainly they must realize that there's some bad people out there that are trying to get into their billfolds.
Absolutely, and it's anyone. The right scam, the right day, any one of us, you or I, could be victim. Especially with these family member scams, these scammers tend to target seniors because often seniors have a little bit of a nest egg and they're able to send that money versus a millennial may not have that cash on hand. And then it really is about the compassion and pulling at the heartstrings. We do anything for family members. And if you thought that family member was in trouble, that's where they get that started. It's the psychology behind these scams.
Okay, Wheels over at the station, control the feedback on this a little bit if you would, please. Emily, in regards to the scams, are like 80% of the scams, are they perpetrated over the phone, or do some even come to your door? Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So phone scams tend to be the most common, but we see them also door to door. That's where those home improvement scams we talked about a little bit may pop up. And then the big problem is really via email and even social media. Recently, we had reports of a lot of people from Facebook saying they were getting a message pop up from someone who they appeared to be friends with, saying they had been given a government grant, and they saw that their friend was next on the list to receive it. And so that's how it gets started, because these scammers are using your friends list to make it seem more legitimate. So all angles, Facebook, social media, email, phone calls, in person, scams are everywhere.
Let me ask you this, Emily. If someone knocks on your door, and let's say that they want to repave your driveway, or they want to redo the roof on your house, or they want to paint your garage or whatever, what questions should a person ask for to see their credibility? I mean, what can a person ask for?
Certainly. You can ask to see their solicitation permit, their door-to-door solicitation. It varies by city, and I know you have listeners from all over, so I can't speak broadly, but check your local ordinance to see what's required and what they look like. Also, ask for a business card. Anytime that someone says, this deal is only good right now, or big red flag, I have leftover materials from another job, steer clear of that. Ask for their card. If it's someone you want to work with, they'll offer you that discount another day, that deal another day. And then once you have that card, verify that business. Look them up with BBB. Check them out. Make sure it's someone you want to work with, and then you can call and invite them back. But anytime they want to do work on the spot, close the door. Don't have that conversation.
Okay, and another scam that I had heard of, and it just makes me sick, again, that they would prey on the elderly, is the scam where they call up and say, I'm so-and-so with their bank. And they say, we can't find this certain information. Can you give me your number so I can look it up? And a lot of people fall for this. And I'm just going to say this up front. You're the expert, but I'll say this. Banks don't call for information over the phone. Am I right or wrong?
You are absolutely correct, and that's what we spoke about just a minute ago, too. Anytime someone contacts you to verify information, that's a big red flag. Oftentimes we'll get these texts, emails, phone calls claiming to be from the bank. They may even claim you're part of a data breach and to unlock your account that they need this information. That is not how the bank works. If you get a call like that, hang up. Again, find the number for your bank independently. Check your most recent statement, check the back of your card, and call and ask if there's any issue. And I'd be willing to bet the majority of the time they would say there is not an issue and that you'd received a scam call.
Emily, is there any way that we can catch these bad guys and bad gals and lock them up, or are they pretty much out there forever?
It's a tough one. You know, these people are very sophisticated in what they do, and technology, they can be very complicated with routing the calls through different servers and on and on and on to make it very untraceable. So our best bet is to stop funding these guys. They wouldn't do these scams if they weren't working. The right scam, the right day, a few dollars going to them makes it worth it to keep going. So your best bet, educate each other. Have a conversation with your family, with friends, with neighbors. Let them know what you've heard today or what you've heard out there. And let's stop funding these guys and not making it worth their time to call us.
I remember, and I did this, and I'm not suggesting that the general public do this, Emily, but I remember one of the scams that I personally had called into my home was, you owe the IRS a whole bunch of money, and you better give me your account information and your credit card right now. We're going to start a lawsuit against you and everything. And I said to the guy, hey, hang on just for a minute. I'll go get my billfold. And I laid the phone down and continued to watch the football game until finally, I guess this guy either died or he got bored and hung up the phone. But I like to play with these people a little bit.
So I know it's tempting, but the best thing to do is to not answer these calls when they come in.
I know.
Because even if you know it's a scam, they're listening for things like the sound of your voice. Because, again, they don't need your money today. It's
That's
just
true.
as good tomorrow. Of course, they'd love it today. But if they hear the sound of your voice and they may be making guesses as to how old you are, would you be susceptible to a grandparent scam, or would you be susceptible to a student loan scam or something like that? So they're listening for those clues. And also, if you pick up the phone when you see an unknown number like that or someone that could be a scammer, you're confirming to them that that is a real phone number that reaches a living, breathing person. So the best bet, screen your calls. When you see that call come in, let it go to voicemail. If it's someone you want to talk to, they'll leave a message, and you can choose to call them back.
Excellent. I love that. Emily Vala. I love that name. Thank you so much for being on our program this morning in regards to the Better Business Bureau, and I hope you'll come back in the future.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you very much. There are a bunch of bad people out there, and I urge you, all of you, to be really careful, like Emily said, and don't do like I did and play with some of these guys and just kind of irritate them a little bit. I shouldn't have done that, but I did enjoy it, though. I got to be honest with you. Anyhow, it's time for the weather, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And really, when you get these scammers on the phone, it's hard not to, scam them right back. And like this guy, I never will forget it. I was watching Monday Night Football, and he called and he started into this rant about you owe this. I knew I didn't owe any money, for heaven's sakes. And oh my goodness, really? I'll take care of it right away. I'll go get my billfold, and my credit card's in my billfold. And I put the phone down and continued watching the football game. And finally, evidently, like I said, the guy either died or he got bored, one of the two, but then he hung up. The weather brought to you this hour by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company CPAs. They are the best, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, payroll services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more, with 2 locations to serve you in Burley and Rupert. And right now, they bring you the weather.
No big surprise. It is spring here in southern Idaho, and that flood watch has been extended through this afternoon. Plus, it's going to be a little bit on the breezy side for today. Winds out of the west, right around 14 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies, high at 53. Tonight, low of 34. Tomorrow, winds dying down just a skosh. Partly cloudy skies, high at 62 with an overnight low of 43. Winds picking up again for Thursday out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Thunderstorms also possible for Thursday. High at 53, overnight low of 35. Still windy for Friday, cloudy, and 56. That is your weather for Zeb at the Range.
All right, thank you very much, and brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And by the way, Leiden Crane is very fluent in Spanish and can offer any of the services in Spanish. You get a hold of them today. They have offices at 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Absolutely the best. And it is time for some of your calls. So give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Remember yesterday the lady that called in, we were talking about Bigfoot, and she said on the air that she personally had seen a couple of Bigfoots, or is it big feet? Or large people, or Sasquatches, whatever you want to say. But she called me later yesterday afternoon, and very, very nice lady. Very, very nice lady, and I had a very nice conversation with her yesterday afternoon. I was out feeding my steers, and I sat down on a bale of hay, and I just listened to her, and she was telling me all about her circumstances in seeing and being fairly close to Sasquatches, Bigfoot. Well, all this came about yesterday on the air with that story that happened up in northern Idaho by Potlatch, and a northern Idaho woman crashed into a deer, she said, on Highway 95 because in the barrel pit running alongside of her car was a Bigfoot chasing a deer. And the deer veered in front of her car and bang. Well, she said absolutely that she saw a Sasquatch chasing the deer. She stuck to her story, and that's how this conversation started. Then this lady called me and said that, yes, she has seen Bigfoot, and on a couple of occasions over at Palisades Dam, and then also right up in the Pomerelle area. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you what she said. And what was really interesting when I talked to this very nice lady, and whether you believe her or not, that's up to you to make that decision. And quite frankly, I'm more on the skeptic side. She was very graphic in explaining and describing what they look like and their build and the smell of the Bigfoot, or plural, big feet. Not sure. But anyway, I had a very good conversation with her, and then I thought this morning in any time that was prevalent and extra, I'd ask you, do you believe in the Indian stories from days gone by about Sasquatch or Bigfoot? Do you believe there is the possibility that here in the Northwest they are still around the area and in hiding? I'd like to ask you that. I don't know. I have had various friends that live up in Washington and Oregon, and ranchers, and I remember one vividly that used to be in the rodeo business, and we were sitting around a table one time after a rodeo performance having dinner, and he made the story about how he had been out gathering horses up in Washington, up in the, I think it was over by Ellensburg or north of Ellensburg, and saw something in the trees. Something rather large and really could move in the brush. And it startled him, and he watched it for a couple of minutes, and then it disappeared. But, you know, honestly, what are your thoughts? Are we kind of just making a joke out of a situation that could be true, or are we talking about something that's just a fairy tale that was made up literally hundreds of years ago for this northwestern area by the Indians and the fur trappers, etc.? What are your thoughts? Give me a call quickly at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I personally don't want to be up in the woods and have my back up against a tree resting and looking at Mother Nature's finest and have something tap me on the shoulder. Oh, boy, look out. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. And, of course, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
You know, I don't know if there's any credibility to this or not, but I'd heard that there hadn't been a credible sighting of Bigfoot since Janet Reno was appointed to be the Attorney General.
Casey, now stop that. Now be serious with me on a subject that can get a little bit twisted and over on the humorous side. What are your thoughts? I mean, is it all a joke? Is it all a fairy tale? What is it?
Well, I just think that there's so many people around, and there's, it'd be pretty hard for something like that to stay invisible. That you wouldn't find someone that died from old age or some other sign of it, because there's never ever really pictures or any kind of evidence other than just people say they saw it, and they may have seen something, but it must be something else, That's kind of what I do.
Well, I tried to be, and I was, very polite to this lady. And when she said, well, I have seen them on numerous occasions, and she said, I've been fairly close to them, about 25, 30 feet away, I went, holy moly. And then she described the smell. They had a certain odor to them, and the extreme size and everything. I am not going to make fun of this lady, and I'm certainly not going to denigrate her opinion on what she thinks she saw or did see, but I'm like you. There hasn't been any bodies found, and certainly we live in a live and die world. You would think you'd find that or more proof, or in this day and age with technology and technocracy, you would think they would be seen or their living area, whatever it might be.
There is some sort of a legend, as far as up in the South Hills back here, and I don't remember the exact name. It was the hairy man of something, I'm sure people who live up in Oakley or that area, they know that story.
Yeah.
But there's a legend of a creature that lived up there, and it's never really proven out, but... Well,
he's still there, Casey. He's raising marijuana and selling it in Salt Lake City.
Could be.
Casey, I enjoyed talking to you. And by the way, I got that little item I'll send you in the mail. I forgot to get it off to you the other day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, have a good day. Thank you.
Bye.
Well, whether there's a Sasquatch or a bunch of big feet around the area or not, maybe we will find them someday. We're going to have Dr. History. I think he's standing out in the other room right now waiting to come in the studio, and Dr. History will be coming up at 10:06. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. CBS News is next. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. Look outside, I see blue sky. I love blue sky, and I certainly hope the temperatures start to warm up. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with a great big spring tire sale, and, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. We're going to have Dr. History in just a moment. Quickly, I want to remind you again about the Southern Idaho Women's Expo, and sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance, April 13th. Put it on your calendar, gals, at the Best Western Burley Inn. Tickets are $20 in advance, $30 at the door. And vendors, people with businesses that would like to have a booth space, call 679-4793. That's coming up on April 13th. Southern Idaho Women's Expo in Burley at the Best Western Burley Inn. And also our thanks go out again to these wonderful, wonderful people at Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, and remember, is 436-3200. 436-3200. 16-bed facility, and they really care. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place for your family members, and they invite the public to come visit the facility anytime. Again, they're located at 924 Christian Way in Rupert, and that number for Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Right now, it is time for the Traveling Man, Dr. History, and he is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. And here now, without further ado, is our own edition of Sasquatch, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing today?
Good, sir.
Good. Before we go, I just want to say something. We traveled over to Oregon, and I would like to mention that if anybody's traveling that way, stop in Baker City, Oregon. Have you ever been to Baker City?
No, many times.
They have a museum.
Many times.
They have a museum that is just amazing.
Really? Now, you know, it's interesting that you should say that, because the last time I was over there, I broke down in Baker overnight, and I wanted to go to that museum, but it didn't work out.
And if you like rocks...
Excuse me?
Rocks.
Like
like as in rocks.
Oh, okay.
They have thousands of a collection of rocks. I mean, I didn't know there were so many. They've got a 950-pound crystal sitting. Anyway, just you got to stop there. The other place
There's a lot of weird things that fascinate you, you know?
I know. Well, this next one maybe more so, but just outside of Portland, McMinnville.
I've been there.
They have the Spruce Goose airplane.
It's
completely Howard Hughes.
Yeah, Howard Hughes.
That huge airplane. It's all enclosed.
It's all in that plane museum, right? Yeah.
But they've got lots and lots of World War I, World War II airplanes. It's an amazing...
You were there.
We wandered around there. I'm fascinated with flight. So if you're ever that way, stop in McMinnville at that airport or air museum.
Guess who's going to call at about 10:15 this morning?
Our sponsor,
Zach.
Okay, remind me.
Are we going to talk about anybody famous today?
You may have heard of this guy. George Armstrong Custer. You've heard of The Last Stand. This is his first stand.
Really? Follow me, boys! There's no Indians here!
No. So come with me. Here we are. It's a bitterly cold morning, November 27th, 1868. You can hear the crunch of soldiers' boots and the horses' hooves on frozen snow, and that was the only sound betraying this kind of stealthy approach of nearly 800 of the 7th Cavalry Regiment troopers and their horses as they headed toward a sleeping Cheyenne village.
Now, wait a minute. 800 soldiers.
Very quiet.
They're not stealthy.
Well, the horsemen were nearing the end of an exhausting forced march that began the day before when scouts reported intercepting a large Indian trail leading south. Well, the approximate 100 warriors who had made the trail after raiding up in Kansas, so they were returning to their winter camp on the Washita River near the western border of Indian Territory in Oklahoma, just east of the Texas Panhandle.
Right.
You know where I'm talking about.
Yep.
Okay. So now only a few more miles of trudging over the frozen snow, and the troopers would be in attack position. Okay. Now the officers and the company sergeants had already ensured that any piece of equipment or horse tackle, bridles, stuff like that would jingle or make any noise had been securely tied down.
So they took off their spurs. They took off the bridles and
nothing that would rattle.
The canteens.
Yeah, and they only whispered to each other. Whisper. And the veteran troopers checked and then rechecked their pistols and their rifles, make sure everything was loaded, and they quietly advised the inexperienced recruits to do likewise.
Okay.
So, as the cavalrymen drew closer to the sleeping village, the dogs that customarily accompanied them picked up the scent of the nearby Indians.
No, wait a minute. They had dogs. Weren't they afraid they'd bark?
Well, let me get to that.
Well, sure. It's your program.
Okay. Thank you. So, the Indians began to growl and bark. Okay. You're ahead of me. Okay.
And I haven't seen the script.
No. So the regiment's commander, good old friend, Lieutenant Colonel George A. Custer, ordered some of his men to strangle the unlucky animals.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, Custer and his brother, Captain Tom Custer, personally dispatched their own dogs. They had their own 2 dogs. They killed them.
Shot their dog. No, they didn't shoot them.
No, they had to strangle them.
Oh, my goodness.
So I never, anyway, we'll go to that.
It's a good thing they didn't have German Shepherds.
Oh, man. Anyway, so here they go. So when the unit reached the low hills overlooking the narrow Washita River from the north, the lead troopers peered through the gloomy darkness, and they could just make out the white, cone-shaped teepees of an undetermined number of Cheyenne lodges.
Now, this doesn't sound right. I mean, Indians, they were so attuned and so alert as to what's going on.
Well, and I think you'll see where we're going on this, though. Okay, so Custer ordered the regiment's 11 cavalry companies divided into 4 battalions, and they wanted to surround the village and strike all at once from all sides.
Really?
So, now, concerned that Custer had not conducted enough reconnaissance of the target or the surrounding area, now that doesn't sound familiar, does it? Not even the scouts knew how extensive the village might be. Or
They didn't know how big it was?
Or how many warriors. They didn't know. In fact, there's a Captain William Thompson that posed a question that was likely on the minds of some of the other troopers that were maybe a little nervous. He said, suppose we find more Indians there than we can handle.
No, I think that is probably a valid question.
Now, Custer, as it was his custom, he'd been in the Civil War and one thing and another, but he dismissed the comment with this. He said, all I'm afraid of is that we won't find half enough. There are not Indians enough in the country to whip the 7th Cavalry.
You know, Custer really could have qualified for some clean white sheets in a little room someplace.
Well, he was so confident in his abilities and the fighting prowess of his regiment that during the hour it took for the battalions to move into their final attack positions...
It took an hour?
He actually stretched out on the snow, covered ground, pulled his heavy wool greatcoat over his head, and promptly fell asleep. Took a nap.
The guy was really nervous.
Interesting. Anyway.
Let me check and see if Zach's on the phone.
All right.
Wheels, do we have Zach ready to go?
We don't, but if you'll give me just 1 minute, I will.
All right, let me know. Go ahead, Doctor, please.
So, by 1868, the frontier armies experienced fighting Indians on the vast expanse of the plains had shown that finding the Indian bands was more challenging and exhausting and frustrating than actually fighting them. And, we know that Plains Indians were nomadic, they had a portable culture. They could pack up and be gone.
They didn't stay at a Motel 6.
In a few hours. So, the Cheyenne, the Comanche, the Kiowa, Arapaho, they had no permanent villages. They
here today, gone tomorrow. Avoid the IRS.
They ranged wide over hundreds of miles, and what we'd call a mobile cluster of buffalo hide teepees that could be dismantled and packed on horse-drawn travois within minutes. I mean, they knew how to do this. They'd done it hundreds of times.
Absolutely. And, traveling salesman.
Yeah. But at the approach of an army column, an alerted Indian band could pack up and be gone, just virtually disappear.
Really?
As soon as they had a hint that the cavalry was coming close.
Yeah, but the cavalry had all these trackers and everything, and you don't just hide all those horses.
I know, but this is the way it went. But, when Indian army fights did take place, the combat was a lot different from what they had in the Civil War. It was more of a guerrilla-type fighting, and although large numbers of Indians might be involved in a fight, each warrior fought as an individual and not under any centralized command.
Okay, good time for a break. Okay, we're going to jump in here because we get a chance to visit with the man, the number one man at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Hello, Zach. What's going on over there?
Oh, not a whole lot. How are you doing this morning?
We are fantastic. We're just sitting here talking about General George Armstrong Custer, and we want you to jump right in and tell us all about what's going on at Minnecasia Sales. What are some of the great things you want to mention this morning?
Oh, well, right now we're selling quite a bit of it's a new product called luxury vinyl planking. It's just a vinyl plank you glue down to the floor. It looks almost as real wood. You can't tell the difference until you reach down and touch it. And we're selling a lot of garage doors right now as well.
Okay. And along with the garage doors, you also have a lot of great choices on interior doors. Is that right?
Yes, we do. We have a wide selection of interior doors, pre-hung or slabs, whatever you prefer. We can get those in for them.
And Zach, one of the things I wanted to mention and ask you about is when we bought a door from you and you sent over a gentleman to do the installation, what nice people and so efficient. Boy, you find some good ones.
We try our best. We don't want to put anyone out there, and that's not going to do a good job for our customers.
Okay. Well, can you give me a real short, precise, concise rundown of all the things you have over there at Minnecasia Sales?
Oh, it starts from the bottom up. Anything from your, foundation vents to your metal roof to your windows, exterior doors, interior doors, all types of different flooring, tile, carpet.
Okay. And, of course, now what are your hours over there at Minnecasia Sales real quick?
We're open from 8 to 4:30.
Okay. And it's easy to find, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. And, by the way, too, I want you to tell everybody you've got the best of windows to keep the cold air outside, the warm air inside, and vice versa during the summertime, right?
Yes, we do. Western Windows makes a great quality product, and we have had really good luck with their windows, and their service is outstanding.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty high on what you do and who you are. Great people at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, and we thought we'd use the live approach to the ad this morning with Zach. God bless you, man. We got to go back and see if Armstrong Custer's going to make it through this battle.
Sounds good. Thank you, Zeb.
All right, Zach, take care of yourself. Thank you. And right now, back to Custer's First stand.
Okay, so we're talking about how the Indians fight. Now, they just was a one-on-one type thing. Some warriors in battle might follow a particular chief or leader, but only as long as they thought it personally beneficial to do so.
Really?
In other words, if the fighting began to go against them, the Indians more often than not would simply ride away.
They would ride away, huh?
Yeah. And
I thought they'd stay there, do or die.
No, not necessarily.
Oh.
If they had no promise of a quick and easy victory, they would be gone.
Really?
So, but the Indians usually could only be made to stand and fight if retreat was impossible or if soldiers threatened their women and their children by a sudden, unexpected attack.
So really, they were just like us.
Yes, they really were. So in summer, the bands were widely scattered following the buffalo herds, and this presented the Army with the obvious problem of finding a fixed target. So only in winter did large numbers of Indian bands concentrate in these huge encampments.
Yeah.
So during the cold months, the warriors and the families remained mostly inactive inside their lodges. If the Army wanted to find Indians, winter was the only time to really do it.
You know what? It sounds like a very boring lifestyle.
It does. It really does.
No television.
Yeah.
No
internet.
computers. No internet.
But, General Philip Sheridan and General William Sherman ordered a winter campaign, and this was in 1868. So Sheridan and Sherman were both determined to bring total war to the rebellious tribes by depriving them of their means of mobility and subsistence. So the Army was to slaughter the Indians' horses, burn their teepees and their equipment, and destroy their food supplies. The intent was not so much to kill the Indians as it was to compel them through starvation, basically, to come into the government-run Indian agencies.
Really?
So, anyway, it was no secret that the Cheyenne, the Comanche, the Kiowa, the Arapaho, they would occupy traditional winter encampments somewhere in southwest Indian Territory, just east of the Texas Panhandle. So it was a likely place for them to spend the winter.
Yeah.
Probably not quite as cold.
Yeah.
But Sheridan directed 3 widely separated Army columns to converge on the area. One column from the southeast, another from the east, and another from the north. So they were going to surround the Indians. But so here we are, November 27th. Again, it's wintertime. Custer had risen from his nap. He'd just been laying down, taking a nice little hour-long nap.
In the snow.
Yeah, in the snow.
Yeah.
And he was making final arrangements for the regiment's surprise attack. The pre-arranged signal for the 4 battalions to commence the attack was supposed to be the regimental band striking up the stirring Irish tune called Gary Owen. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
No, I haven't
not.
either. So that was supposed to be the signal for attack. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, before the bandsman...
Why didn't they just yell attack?
I don't know. But before the band could start playing, a single solitary rifle shot out, and an Indian by the name of Double Wolf, the Cheyenne villager who saw the troopers approaching, he had fired the warning shot. So there was a warning, all right? Yeah. Now, Custer personally led a company toward the village from the northwest. There was a Major Elliott from another side, a Captain Myers from the other side, and a Captain Thompson from all 4 sides. So the sudden attack came as a complete surprise to the village's 250 Indian inhabitants.
So 250 people, bigger than Murtaugh, by far, and they were under a surprise attack early in the morning.
By 800 of the 7th Cavalry.
Okay.
And this also included Chief Blackkettle, and we've talked about him before.
Yep.
But anyway, they were shocked and confused. The Indians, including young boys and some women, fought back as best they could. But Custer's attack had quite literally caught them sleeping. And so a one-sided battle that was essentially over in 10 minutes. It was it didn't last very long.
Really?
At one point, Custer saw some men chasing after some women and children. And I thought this was kind of a neat deal. He actually ordered the troopers to stop. He wouldn't allow them to attack this group of women and children.
Well,
and I don't even want to go into this.
Yeah, I don't even want to go into that area because I've seen too many portrayals of the inhumanity that was displayed.
And at least Custer had the gumption to say, no, we're not going to shoot innocent women and children.
Yeah, really.
And it did happen, yes. But anyway, there were about...
Like Wounded Knee was terrible.
Yeah. But there were about 53 women and children that had been captured during the battle, and Custer reasoned that their presence among his troopers would make the warriors who withdrew after the battle extremely reluctant to fire at the column for fear of hitting the women and children.
Yeah.
So he kind of had a human shield with his troops. Mm-hmm. But anyway, after the gunfire died down, Custer set his men to work executing Sheridan's total war instructions. And while most of the troopers burned teepees and destroyed camp equipment and food supplies, some were given the task of killing the Indians' horses.
You know, this is pretty gruesome that we performed that. The horse to the Indian was, that was pretty important. They used horses. That was like money to them.
Yeah, it was wealth, it was transportation, it was battle.
Absolutely.
And they killed the majority of 900 animals in the herd.
900?
Yeah.
Oh,
but they spared enough to put the Indian captives on. And
burned the teepees.
Yeah.
So basically these Indians in the wintertime had nothing.
No. So anyway, there was a Lieutenant Godfrey that raced up to Custer's command post to let him know of a little startling development.
A little startling.
Yeah, you're going to find this interesting. What Godfrey had observed was a huge village or a series of villages extending for 6 miles along the Washita and containing perhaps 6,000 Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Kiowa Indians.
And this is a neighboring village?
Yes.
I would say it's time to get on your horse out of the snow, Georgie, and get out of Dodge City.
Well, Custer's attack had in fact struck only Blackkettle's small outlying encampment.
Yeah.
So now, like hornets swarming out of a stirred-up nest, hundreds, probably thousands of angry warriors were getting ready to head towards Custer. Okay.
This is a Saturday morning cereal.
Yes. You know, and Custer, he had to figure out a way to get out of there in a hurry.
Yeah, like run.
Yeah, so Custer knew it was time to withdraw.
He was a sharp guy.
Well, it didn't come to pass later. Anyway, you know, he wanted to get his troopers mounted, got the 53 Indian hostages on ponies at the column's flanks to discourage the warriors from firing at the regiment, and then led his 7th Cavalry east toward, now get this is kind of interesting, toward the gathering swarms of warriors.
Now why?
Okay, here's why. Because Custer's bold bluff worked, the warriors were reluctant to fire at the soldiers lest they hit the Indian captives, and now fearful that the cavalrymen were advancing on their families, they rushed back to their village to defend their homes. So the 1,000 or so Indians that were headed towards them were afraid for their families, so they turned around and went back to their camp to protect their families.
I see.
So anyway, when full darkness fell, Custer abruptly reversed course and headed the opposite way. He reunited the regiment with his supply wagons that he'd left well behind, anyway, he put a safe distance between him and the Indians. Now, they claimed that the regiment had killed 103 warriors. However, this is a wild exaggeration. More likely, they had only killed maybe a dozen warriors.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really quite the massacre that...
what was this battle? What area?
The Battle of the Washita, just east of the Texas Panhandle.
Okay, gotcha.
In Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, Custer initially reported that he had only lost 4 dead, and 13 wounded, and yet he forgot to mention there was 20 other guys that had gone off on their own that didn't return.
I see.
So they actually lost more cavalrymen.
We got about a minute and a half.
Okay, that's what I got.
Okay.
Okay. So, there's controversy, and many of the Army civilian leaders consider Black Kettle a peaceful chief who wanted to bring his Cheyenne band into the government agency.
Yeah.
But it was clear that Black Kettle's village included many young warriors who had recently been raiding and killing in Kansas, and the old chief had even admitted, he said, I have not been able to keep the young warriors at home. And despite the controversies, the Battle of the Washita not only accomplished Sheridan's intent by convincing many Indian bands to come to the government, it also established Custer's reputation as an Indian fighter. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Custer's self-promotion helped a little. He wrote a book called Life on the Plains, and that was published and kind of bragged a little about some of his adventures.
A little.
But 8 years later, we know what happened along the banks of the Little Big
It's a good thing it wasn't a book on tactics.
Well, when you take a nap an hour before you go into attack, I don't know. And don't look over the next hill to see that there's 6,000 more Indians just over the next hill.
Didn't they hire scouts?
You would think they did.
Okay.
But
okay,
maybe at this time they didn't have anybody.
Dr. History, you did it again. A great story. Next week we're going to talk about Sasquatch.
We'll see on that one.
Okay. Dr. History brought to you by Minicash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Our thanks go out to Zach and the crew. Zach for being on the program this morning. Thank you very much. All your needs, overhead doors, interior doors, luxury vinyl planking, all of it at Minicash Sales in Burley. And before we send it back over to our main studio, I also want to remind you on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, sponsored by Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley. Number to call and find out how they can save you a lot of money on your outpatient surgeries, 677-8888. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center. Along with a Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh my goodness, all the things you need for the wee ones. Cribs and strollers and the clothing and the games, the puzzles, the books, everything. And also for us adults, the Cherokee scrubs and the shoes, everything at a Child's World. 1308 Overland in Burley. We'll be back with our next guest right after this break at our main studios.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and I know we've got a guest waiting in the wings, patiently, I hope, but we've got to get these in real quick. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them today at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. By the way, I want to remind you there's a big spring open house going on at Mad River Laser. Hello, Nicole. Hello, all the folks over there. They are really good folks having a great big entire gift shop on sale open house. You better stop over there today. Easy to find, 502 East Street in Rupert, right on the square, and check out all the wonderful items. I mean, man alive, they can do everything over there. Ask about their engraving and their embroidery, and they've got door prizes for this great big sale. Spring open house at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. And last but not least, in our continuing throng of commercials here this morning, and we say God bless all of them, Redder Showcase at 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. Hello, Guy Redder, and the annual March Madness sale is going on at Redder Showcase. Come on in, and you'll save a lot of money on great bargains on the appliances, furniture, and Serta mattresses on sale. 12 months, same as cash. You can't beat that deal. I'm telling you, stop in today. Redder Showcase, 2611 Overland Avenue in Burley. Woo! And now, without further ado, we run to the guest on our phone line. And he's been here many, many times in the past. And we say good morning to a writer for The Stream, John Zamirek. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. Thanks.
John, you wrote a very interesting piece, and by the way, Wheels over at the studio, watch the feedback on these calls, please. A lot of great articles, but this one really caught my interest about starving Christians away from the service of communion. Would you care to elaborate on it a little bit?
I think many of your listeners probably know that Venezuela has been taken over by a left-wing dictatorship. Hugo Chavez was a left-wing military guy. He first tried a military coup in the 90s, went to jail, got out of jail, then got democratically elected with the votes of relatively poor people. But Venezuela was a country with a strong middle class and a free, thriving economy. But of course, it had a fair number of have-nots, as we do in America. Think of the people who vote Democrat every election, no matter who the candidates are, in part because some of them are looking just to stay at the public, feeding at the public trough. Well, Hugo Chavez came to power on the promise of putting many, many more people on the public trough. He came to power, destroyed the middle class, seized large parts of the economy, confiscated the oil industry, ran the price of oil down to less than it cost to pump it out of the ground, distributed free gasoline to people all around the country, had huge social programs. He was kind of like the Great Society on steroids, but of course in a much poorer country, and they're all dependent on oil revenues. Although the price of oil went down, as we here in Texas realize all too well, and the whole Ponzi scheme collapsed. People tried to take him out of office. They used violence and repression to stay in power. He died, and his heir in power, Maduro, is continuing to cling to power, even as the country spiraled into chaos. This is what socialism does. The more thoroughly socialism is enacted, the worse things get. We saw in Russia in the 1920s when they tried to impose socialism, the result was economic chaos. Then in the 1930s, when Stalin tried to apply socialism to agriculture in the Ukraine, between 6 and 12 million people starved to death. There's a new film, Bitter Harvest, that depicts that. It's kind of like the Schindler's List of Stalinist Russia. I think everyone should look for it, try to see it. Well, now, in Venezuela, the government control has so destroyed the economy that no one's willing to raise wheat. No one's willing to make flour, because the government set the price of flour at less than it costs to make it. The result is Catholic churches in Venezuela can no longer get the little wheat hosts that we use for Holy Communion. How ironic, especially given that a lot of Catholics, including, it seems, Pope Francis, seem sympathetic to socialism, that socialism, when put into effect, actually makes the practice of Catholicism virtually impossible. You don't even have the bread for Sunday church.
You know, John, I'm sitting here, and I hope you'll understand the way I phrase this, but there is a very amazing intertwining of negativity and control fingers in the pie that are absolutely working to take away the freedoms of all people around the world. Wouldn't you agree?
I think that there are very strong sympathies among the ruling classes in different countries, from the people controlling the European Union to the leading people of the United Nations, to the elites in America, to internationalists like George Soros, and what they see common people as ignorant. They think we don't vote in our own best interest. They think that we're motivated by religious ignorance and cultural prejudice and homophobia and Islamophobia, and they want to take away from us the power to really control what's going on in our countries.
Yeah.
And you see that most vividly in the European Union, where they keep trying to take powers away from the democratically elected accountable governments and give them to these appointed committees in the European Commission, so that the rules, the laws for more than a dozen European countries are made in secret by unelected bureaucrats whom it's impossible to fire. It's kind of like, imagine the Supreme Court made all the major decisions in America instead of just most of them.
Yeah. John, let me ask you this. When I talk about socialism, I just get really, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. In the case of where today more socialist values are being sought by the liberal left Democrats, and that means the worse things are going to get. Do they, the left wing and the Democrats, do they depend upon a naivete of youth in America so that they can further the socialist causes? Is that really what they're looking for?
I actually think that it's the naive hysteria of college students and the cluelessness of college faculty are even driving it. They're driving the Democrats further left. I think, we saw that with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders had all this youth enthusiasm and mindless self-righteousness of the campus left, and that pushed Hillary Clinton further to the left. I think Hillary Clinton is kind of an opportunist. She was willing to govern from the center, to be sort of towards the center with Bill Clinton, because that's what suited her politically. When she saw the wind was blowing further left, she went further left. So I think it's even more a phenomenon of what's going on in college campuses and in the media, where it's like a bidding war to see who can be more progressive, who can be further left. It reminds me of the 1930s, when people were flirting with and then diving into sympathy with Soviet communism.
But John, with all the failures of socialism around the globe, and the deaths and the starving and the lack of having any kind of an economy, you would think that mankind might be a little smarter than what they are today.
Yeah. I think socialism is a phenomenon of envy. And envy is one of the 7 deadly sins. It's actually the worst of them. It was the devil envied Adam and Eve, which is why he went to tempt them, if you read Milton's Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
So I think, however many times we see that socialism produces destruction and starvation, people just say, well, this time it'll work. It's kind of like Charlie Brown kicking the football.
I agree with you. We have a caller with a question. Caller, quickly, go ahead. You're on the air, please.
Last weekend, my son has a band. He played up in Boise at the Treefork Music Festival, Boise, Idaho. And in some respects, I think downtown Boise would like to fancy itself as Seattle, Portland, maybe, San Francisco in some respects. So I'm there on Friday night and all day Saturday, and it's packed. There's no hotel rooms to be had. I'm downtown Boise, and I'm with young people all over, and not so young people. But if you've ever studied Agenda 21, where they pack everybody into the inner cities, and then the businesses are on the bottom and everybody lives up above, that's what downtown Boise is. And these young people, they fancy themselves as something, as an enlightened, caring somebody. But the truth of the matter is they don't have any ambition. They don't know they're hind in from a hole in the ground. And they just, I was shocked. But I've been there before. But you see, these people, I don't think they have the wherewithal to get anything really done, but they are very useful idiots. I'll hang up.
John, respond. I think he brought up a pretty good analogy there. Go ahead, please.
I think that left-wing students are very effective at silencing free speech on campus, and that are driving conservative faculty off campus and pushing universities to suppress conservative and Christian free speech and Christian organizations, and encouraging departments not to hire conservative or even moderate scholars. So what you're seeing is they're choking off the supply of highly educated conservatives and Christians for the next generation. I wrote about this last week at stream.org. Would the next Neil Gorsuch, would the next Ted Cruz even be able to get into a top-tier law school? Those schools are increasingly openly political in everything they do, in their hiring decisions, I'm sure in their admissions decisions. I got into Yale in 1982. I bet I wouldn't get in there now because I was openly a conservative Catholic. I don't. I think that elites in America are becoming more intolerant, and the leftist ideology is becoming more and more like a religion of its own, and it's an intolerant religion.
You know, John, let me ask you this. With the wheat that was used to make the little wafers for communion, I don't care if you're a Catholic, I don't care if you're Lutheran, Presbyterian, I don't care what religion you are. This is just another signal that the left and all their devious ways to absolutely wreck our social amenities, if you will, like Christianity and our beliefs, our family morals, etc., they are out always trying to find a way that they can destroy something. Would you agree with that?
I think they want to control things, and if they can't control them, they're willing to destroy them. But they want to control them and transform them in their own image. So if your church is willing to become a progressive hotbed that offers sanctuary to illegal immigrants, is silent on abortion, is silent on marriage, or even endorses same-sex marriage, if your church is willing to become a useful idiot, they'll make room for you. But what happened in Venezuela is it's even more radical. It's not that the government won't let them have the wheat. It's that the government's economic policies are so disastrous that the wheat does not exist. There's no toilet paper in Venezuela. They're taking professional people, intellectuals, doctors, lawyers, and they're making them work at gunpoint in the fields harvesting crops. It's a total economic meltdown, which is what happens when you apply socialism in any consistent way.
You know, John, final thought here, and you study this, you've written about it, and you're more knowledgeable about what's really happening than I am by far on this issue. If you were to look at a return to socialistic values, not only in Venezuela, but around the globe, and here now primarily in the United States, on a 1 to 10 scale today, where are we?
I think we're 6, moving towards 7 and 8, and I think getting immigration under control is going to be crucial because the Democrats have given up trying to win over working class people to vote for them, so they just want to import millions more Democrat voters from Latin America.
You know, and that right there,
Build that wall.
I agree with you totally on this. I think that what happened to Iowa Senator Stephen King and his remark about we are not producing our own anymore in this country with our own culture and respect for our own heritage, and he was absolutely taken to task by the liberals, and they said, well, he shouldn't have said that because all the left, all the refugees, all the illegal aliens coming in, to the left, that's all right. But for us to produce our own in our own country, they hate that, don't they?
Well, yeah, they're treating childbearing like it's a sweatshop industry that needs to be outsourced. Think about that. All he said was, gee, we should have our own kids instead of relying on immigration
right.
to fill up the country because we're too poor or too depressed or too harassed by the government or working too hard. Whatever it is, we're not having children. Can you think of a more fundamental test of whether a society is healthy or not, is whether or not people think it's worthwhile to bring their own children into the world. And many European countries are failing that test.
Absolutely.
And the idea that, oh, well, it doesn't matter if Americans are too harassed or depressed or whatever they are to have any children, we'll just import millions of Muslims.
Yeah.
If that's your solution, you're the crazy person. You're the person who has left the realm of common sense and common decency. If you think childbearing is a sweatshop industry like putting together iPhones.
John, I always look forward to having you on the program. John Zamirik on our program this morning. God's blessings, and please come back soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Very interesting conversation and very truthful about what's happening. Don't forget Golden Valley Warehouse. Our friends at 1000 South, 468 West of Burley. Oh, my goodness. Hello, to all the folks out there. And by the way, they thank all the farmers in this area and hope they have a very good year. Don't forget Golden Valley Warehouse with all your commercial and custom processors of grain, bean, and seed. And they are known all over for their top quality seed. So locally owned and operated, quality seed at competitive prices. Golden Valley Warehouse. You call them today, 678-7325. You know what? I just happened to realize we didn't do the weather forecast yet. And yours truly is running a little bit late, so I will tell you the weather is brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. And you can go to their website and see all the delicious meats. Oh, my goodness. ScarrowsMeats.com. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Don't forget they've got the breakfast sausage and the brats and the new product called the buckboard bacon. Oh, ho, 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 delicious. Right now, here's the weather.
No big surprise. It is spring here in southern Idaho, and that flood watch has been extended through this afternoon. Plus, it's going to be a little bit on the breezy side for today. Winds out of the west, right around 14 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies, high of 53. Tonight, low of 34. Tomorrow, winds dying down just a skosh. Partly cloudy skies, high of 62 with an overnight low of 43. Winds picking up again for Thursday out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Thunderstorms also possible for Thursday. High of 53, overnight low of 35. Still windy for Friday, cloudy, and 56. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you very much, Gina. And right now, we'd like to say thank you to Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Number to call, 324-7657. And the slogan is oh so true. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. You know, tomorrow on the program, we have got a complete full plate. We're going to have in the first hour, we're going to talk to Fred Snook just a little bit up there at Salmon for that salmon horse and mule sale. And then at 9:06, we're going to talk to Dave Bigo, Indianapolis, Indiana, about what's going on with all the different anti-Trump this, anti-Trump that. Then at 9:30 tomorrow, I'm really looking forward to this because I've got a lot of respect for this man and what he does as a state senator for us. Senator Kelly Anthon is going to be on the program tomorrow if he can get out of the meetings that are going to be at the same time as the 9:30 appointment on this program. So we're going to have to wait and see that. And then at 10:06 tomorrow, I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have two young men that I absolutely have the utmost respect for. Jason Lee from Lee's Furniture and Thomas Peterson from Denny's. And we're going to be talking to them. They're both millennial age brackets, but boy, they've got their heads screwed on straight, and they have a lot of goals and aspirations for the future. Sharp, sharp young men. And then at 10:30 tomorrow, we're going to have an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation talking about how the government trying to take away certain public and private lands. So we're going to talk about that. Big day tomorrow. By the way, I want to remind you that our major sponsor is your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And I keep mentioning this big spring tire sale they're having right now. And they've got all the tires for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. And many, many, many are on sale, so you better stop in there today. And check out also the great brake service. I mean that. I know firsthand. Excuse me. And, of course, the front end alignment, shocks and struts, the batteries. But above all, the service. These folks really care. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, and don't forget Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up and put it back in the box, and we want to remind you we'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06, right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and then streaming live all over the world, zebbell.com. And we've got a bunch of things extra tomorrow to talk about, too, in addition to all of our guests. So you have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there. God bless you, and remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.